Hi, my name's Don Latarski, and welcome to lesson number 6 of Guitar Theory Illustrated. So far, we've only been dealing with intervals that span an octave. Those are called simple intervals, and that's the major second, the major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then we come back to the perfect eighth, also known as the octave. There are intervals larger than the octave. Anything larger than an octave is called a compound interval. So it's going to be an octave plus something else. The first compound interval that we come to is called the ninth. It's an octave plus a major second. So it shares the same quality as the second. That's why it's major. Let's take a look at some of the different shapes for the major ninth interval. If we have an octave here, all we have to do is add an interval of a major second above this upper octave note. And this is actually the shape technically for a major ninth. I just put this here so it's easier for you to see the relationship because this is just a major second interval. Let's take a look at the different shapes for the major ninth. If we move it across to the next string, if we move our octaves over and move this across, we have to make a change to the shape. This note has to go up to here. Notice I'm still just using something called the second. If I remove this, we would then refer to this as a ninth interval, not a second. So this sound, same sound. So that's two shapes for the major ninth. And what happens if we move it over again? This goes up to here, this goes to here. The shape stays the same, just as the last one that we looked at. Let's go to the next compound interval. I'm going to start back here. And it's going to be the 10th. Same as the third, same as the major third, so it's going to be a major 10th. This is a really, really common sound. So let's jump this note up an octave. That's another way to do this. You could start out with a simple interval down here and jump it up an octave. So if I remove this, that gives the major third shape. And the most famous song that I can think of that uses that major third is Blackbird. Those are all tenths here. Some are major, some are minor, but they're tenths. Very common, really nice sound. Let's see what happens to the shape now when we get over to here. Since string 2 is involved, it has to go up to here. So I'll put the octave back in. It's easier to see, isn't it? The major third right here. So that's two shapes for the major third interval. There actually is another one. Let's work out of the G position for a moment. Oh, I don't need that one. And let's do a major third away from that. So that is a very playable, if I'm in the key of, I'm A here. See, there's a 10th back there, and there's a 10th up here. Let me duplicate this note, and you can see what I'm talking about there. So I could play it there or back here. Sometimes when I'm back here, like here's a chord that uses that note in it. Okay. Let's do the other form for the major 10th. When string 2 gets involved, it's going to change. Now it's straight across, so if I take this out, there's the shape. And that shape will stay the same when it gets moved over to here. So there are three different common forms for the major third. The next compound interval is based off of the fourth. When an octave is added to a fourth, it becomes a perfect 11th. So let's start out with that and jump it up an octave. And there's the fourth. If we take this and play it on the next string, 1, 2, 3, 4, Again, we're kind of in the G shape, right? At this point, here we go there. See, there's the G octave shape like that. So there's two different forms for the perfect 11th so far. Let us take a look at what happens when string 2 gets involved. Here is our reference note. Let me put an octave in, and we will see what happens to it. It goes up to there. I'm going to get that out of the way. That's the third shape for the perfect 11th. I have to take this out. That's the third shape for the perfect 11th. Next comes the perfect 5th. Notice I didn't put anything in there. That's because we don't build chords and scales and arpeggios with the compound version of the perfect 5th, which would be called a perfect 12th. So we get to skip that one. The major 13th is the last of the compound intervals we're going to look at. It's related to the major 6th. Let's go back to here. Get a 6th in there, which is over here. Jump that up an octave, which puts it right there. Way far away, right? So that's the major 13th shape. If we move it over here, nothing changes. Same shape. Let's go back and see what happens in the G position with this. So if we're on A, we need an F sharp. Goes way back. So let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Goes way back there. There it is. I'll play a chord with that in it. It's cool. Here's another chord. Works. That's the end of our discussion on compound intervals. Our next topic is going to be on modifying the major and the perfect intervals to start generating some of those other 3 interval types that we haven't covered yet: minor, diminished, and augmented. Please try to keep up on the homework, and I'll see you back here real soon. Thank you. Bye.